All right, so that is what we will be discussing here today on the program. So we've got two gentlemen joining us to weigh in on that matter. We've got Dr. Austin Sado, who is the National Investment Secretary of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, as well as Dr. Oniyi Sumonu, the National Coordinator, Congress of University Academics, CONUA, who they've just been registered. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you both for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Well, Dr. Sumonu, I mean, from even the dailies, the way it's been reported, it comes across as though the registration of your union is a punitive measure. It's aimed at ensuring, as several others think, it's to break the rank of ASUU. And so if people have that kind of impression, I'm not sure it serves you well. What do you think?
Thank you very much once again for having me this morning. I do not think, with profound respect, that I'm the one in the right position to actually respond to that. It's left to the federal government to do that. But I will do myself a lot of injustice if I don't wade in with respect to the fact that the attempt to register CONUA started way back in 2018. And before then, there have actually been issues with the union we either to belonged to, which started in our university, Obafemi University, Ile-Ife, in 2016.
And that being ASUU?
Yes. That issue we raised up to the national level, and at the NEC meeting held in Gombe State University between 3rd and 4th February 2018, several punitive measures were pronounced on members, including but not limited to expulsion.
What was the issue, by the way?
Though there are so many issues which can broadly be categorized into two. The first one has to do with constitutional violations, the constitution of the union violations that we allege some leaders actually did. The other one bothered on actually the vice chancellorship race in Obafemi University in 2016. The role the leadership of the union in that university played in the emergence or the purported emergence of the winner in 2016 before it was upturned by the federal government by the appointment of an acting vice chancellor, which the exercise then started again and produced a Professor Ogunbodede in 2017 thereabout. So what I was saying is to the effect that there were issues within the union which we fought all through until certain pronouncements were made.
So was it that your faction of ASUU at the time, they don't like the fact you accuse them of supporting what, Professor Omole's emergence?
No, that's actually not the issue. The issue is the leadership of the union was taken over and got enmeshed in the VC's race.
This was in OAU?
Yes, in OAU. So until that pronouncement was made, we remained within the union. And once that pronouncement was made, I think we then realized under the Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, that we have the freedom to organize and associate. So then CONUA was formed.
Was that the first time that any such disagreement will be happening between the rank and file of ASUU?
There have actually been issues in the past.
But this one, you felt that you needed to break away because of this one?
It wasn't really a breakaway. I wouldn't want to subscribe to the language of breakaway. It was actually an expulsion, something that we don't want you. You are not needed here. And the moment that pronouncement was made, we then felt, no, we can organize ourselves.
Did you appeal the expulsion?
There was no room for appeal of that expulsion. No room was given whatsoever. In fact, there were so many condescending conditions, humiliating conditions.
In order not to lose sight of that and not to move so quick, just to get Dr. Austin's perspective, were you aware of this matter, by the way, when it happened?
Chamberlain, I will not want to join issues on this development about vice chancellorship election in Ife with Congress Somono. I know that a disagreement of a branch or members of a branch cannot lead to a breakaway from a national union. And for every union, any organization, for that matter, governed by some rules and the constitution of that organization, if there is any form of injustice, there are also procedures in that constitution to deal with it.
There was no room for appeal.
Maybe he should show you the constitution he is interpreting. And that's why I said I'm not just going to join issues with him here. But I'll tell you that in 2019, I was actually part of a delegation that visited Ife to deal with the issues in that university, in that branch. And Comrade Sumono here, seated, refused to meet with us. We were in Ife for 3 days. In fact, at some point, we were almost, many of the people, if you go to Ife, after they started this union, because of the entrenched interest of members in various camps contesting for that office, we thought that that was dangerous and we should get our members to stay away from politics.
What reason did he give for refusing to meet?
Well, he just was avoiding us. In fact, he promised he was going to meet with us the first evening, that we're going to meet with him the next day. But by the next day, he was no longer picking his calls.
Okay, but Dr. Sumano, you left out that bit of information. Why?
No, when they came in 2019, remember I did say that this union was formed in 2018. I don't act alone. I'm only a point of contact to members. So when the information was sent to me on their way from Ibadan, I recollect now, they were already in Ibadan before I got SMS from them. And I did respond that I'll get to my people.
Okay, but you know that when we did ask that, was there room for appeal? You made us believe there was none. You didn't give this information, so that can be misleading if he didn't give that part.
I make bold to say again that there was no room for appeal.
But they said they reached out to you and you refused.
Room for appeal. There were so many condescending, humiliating conditions set on our path. There was no room for appeal. I make bold to say that again.
Even though you refused to meet with them?
I wouldn't call it a refusal. My members felt we should concentrate our energies on having this union registered.
What about courtesy, where you just say, well, gentlemen, I'm afraid I cannot meet with you?
No, I did that to him. I did that to that committee that came then. I did that to them. I sent a message to them.
Is he aware that you said you...
He wasn't the leader of the team, if I remember correctly. But I sent an SMS to that leader of the team that won't be able to make it because my members didn't approve meeting with them.
So I'm just looking at the entire picture. I mean, because right now that's not the, but for your explanation, that's not the impression that a lot of Nigerians get, especially if we were to go with the headlines, that this is not just a matter, you know, limited to a particular university. When you now look at the larger cause of the whole, would you say that it was worthwhile, you know, breaking away from, or will I say, forming your own association? Because you said you were expelled from ASUU. Would you say that it was worthwhile? Because some people would say that the issues that affect Nigerian academics are, you know, are broader, are more broad-based than the issues within a particular university.
Let me correct some things to start with. I appreciate your question. First, it started in OAU. And since then, it has moved into some other universities. I need to state that clearly. Secondly, on the fact that the issues you raised with respect to the universities, they are germane. We have issues in the university. And I believe that, looking back, it is actually worthwhile because we will no longer have a situation in which issues in the universities in Nigeria looked from certain fixed prism. It has to be brought to the table, looked at from all directions, and from that we can arrive at informed decisions to move us forward.
Is CONUA on strike? Now that, you know, you've just been signed off, are you on strike, or since you're not a member of ASUU, you're not bound by ASUU's rules, Are you going to be going back to work? I mean, have you been on strike? Let me put it that way.
CONUA, as an organization, has not been on strike. There has been no time that a strike was declared.
What?
So does the strike declared by ASUU affect you?
Well, ASUU is an independent union, and what it does has no bearing over another union. It's just like two human beings, that what you do has no bearing over another person. We've not been on strike. We are not on strike.
However, you are not in the classrooms.
Yeah, we stopped teaching, for example, in OAU, when the students were asked to vacate campuses. So I have concluded on my lectures before our students were asked to leave OAU on 27th March this year.
I'm trying to help me understand this. Students were asked to vacate. CONUA is not on strike.
Yep.
But no teaching whatsoever is going on in the universities. So what is the point of forming CONUA if students cannot go back to school?
The formation of CONUA preceded the current industrial action by our sister union. The formation preceded it.
So I'm just a little curious, I mean, how this is going to work out now. The issues which ASUU are agitating for, do you share the sentiments of ASUU in that regard? And how do you intend to work with them, even though you are a separate union?
The issues in the universities with respect to underfunding, with respect to state of the welfare of academics is abysmal. Yes, we share that sentiment to that extent. Where we have issues, which is with respect to opinions, different opinion, is with respect to approach, the approach to solving the issues. We do not believe, I say with utmost and profound respect, in the use of strike action to press home demands. We have been able to evaluate over time, and there are a lot of publications, academic publications in this regard, that the positives of strike is really, the negatives of strike, let me put it that way, far outweighs the positives. It does more damage than good to the system. Yes, the governments have not been forthright. Yes, the funding in university has not been so good. Yes, our wages are so low. Yes, but how do we solve this problem? Is where we differ, actually.
Dr. Austin, how is ASUU internalizing all this?
You mean the formation of the union?
Yeah.
Oh, well, as far as we are concerned, it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue because knowing what we know about the process of democratization, every individual has the right to decide where he or she belongs. And so it's the right of any person to say, look, I want to be part of you, I don't want to be part of you. But we only wait for time to see how consequential this will be. You know, when you see a situation where people would take away their focus from the challenge or the problem, and they'll be looking for scapegoats or looking for excuses, you know you are in a very big problem, and that's where we are now. Strike is not a problem in the university. Strike is not a problem.
Even strikes that extend for as long as 8 months, when they were not intended to be that long?
Yeah. Who should be held responsible? And that's why I say that Nigerians tend to believe that strike is the problem. Strike is a reaction. So if there is a problem and somebody reacts, and you ask yourself, when the strike commenced on the 14th of February, it said we're going to give government 4 weeks to deal with these issues. Did government react? No. After the first four weeks, we waited for government, nothing happened. So, okay, let's give government another 8 weeks. It was symbolic. Yet nothing happened. When did the government respond or react to it? Of course, before the commencement of the strike, you recall that NIREC, in 2021 November, NIREC had intervened. And we said, oh, let's leave this strike thing and wait for NIREC to intervene. What came out of it? NIREC did intervene. I'll not sit down here and mention the number of persons that have intervened in this regard before the declaration of the strike. So strike is not a problem. And if you sign a memorandum of action, a memorandum of understanding with timelines, I mean, somebody's feet should be held to the fire.
But have you heard when the government says that ASUU has not made any concession whatsoever in spite of our own reactions and reaching out to ASUU?
I mean, it's part of it's part of the. I'm just being careful because our public officers always feel that when you try to state the fact as it is, they say, oh, you see, they are belligerent and they are brash. So I'm trying to be very careful. What are the concessions? Government hasn't even made any reasonable offer. ASUU has been the one making concessions. ASUU has been the one. For example, let me give you an example. Yeah. On revitalization, the initial agreement was government was supposed to give 220. Since the last 7 years, government had given just 50. And we said, fine, can we agree that we will have one tranche, make up one tranche, including the 50. Let it be 170. At the background discussions we were having, we considered, fine, give 170 and let's see if we can even put closure to whatever it had been and see if we could have another evaluation of what the situation is in the university. By the time we were accepting to do that, government said, oh, we wouldn't be able to do that. So maybe we can do it next year. From there, they have reduced the point to say, oh, we can't even we don't have money to do that. That's on that. On academic allowances, they were supposed to have concluded the payment of the outstanding 2 tranches in February last year. As we speak, they've not done anything about it. And we were even saying, fine, is there anything you can do in this regard? Say, well, we will put it in the next year budget. Remember, these things had been put in, well, in quote now, in the budget because we started this issue in 2020. December 2020 with the issue of the timeline of paying both the academic allowance and the revitalization. Oh, we were going to mainstream EAA, so there will be no longer be EAA. We'll mainstream it in 2021 budget. I'm sure we're yet to pass 2021 budget.
Okay. Dr. Solomon, how is the formation of CONUA, since you're CONUA, I was going to add NAMDA, how is this going to address the issue on hand, particularly as it has to do with ASUU strike and students going back to school?
I'm only going to respond to that by saying that we've not been on strike. We just appeal to the federal government and our sister union to reach an amicable agreement so that the universities can be opened and we can go back to doing our teachings and some other things that we do. Going forward, we hope that collaborative engagement among all the registered academic unions in the university that will deal with issues from different perspectives to reach an amicable agreement.
In other words, the formation of CONUA or NAMDA cannot get the students back to school.
Well, the government is going to be the one to say that. As far as we are concerned.
Why would it be the government? ASUU is the one that declared the strike.
The government owns the universities.
Yeah, but ASUU is the one on strike.
If the government says...
Why did they form CONUA?
We formed CONUA on principle I just mentioned.
So it has nothing to do with students going back to school?
It is not formed on the basis of the strike action declared by our sister union.
So we're saying the same thing. It will not bring the students back to school.
We've not been on strike. We are ready to work if the students are back on campuses.
All right.
I'm just wondering how many members you have. So if you say you're ready to work, some people will say that, how many are you? And are you just yourself said it, that this problem started with an issue in OAU, even though you say that it's since spread to other universities. But really, how many members do you have within your ranks?
As we speak today as we speak, we have members, though with different numerical strength, in about 17 universities. That is when we were even yet to be recognized by the government. With this, we expect to have more members. And as we move forward, as the membership increases, with our modus operandi, we believe that the Nigerian universities...
So, did you say how many members you have?
No, he didn't say. He's just saying that, their numbers, they hope the numbers will increase.
Yes, the branches we have is about 17.
You have 17 branches?
Yes, 17 branches, even before the recognition yesterday.
I imagine that you're not willing to state what your numerical strength is.
I wouldn't want to say that for now.
Why not?
I can only give an example of the Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife, which is over 600 members. We started with over 800 members.
Okay, Dr. Austin, you chuckle. Why?
Yeah, they claim they also had a branch in my university. I'm from the University of Port Harcourt. And you have people on ground. Send people to go to University of Port Harcourt and let any person identify as a member of CONUA. So...
are you going to beat them up if they identify as members of...
The point I'm making is...
Are you going to intimidate them?
No. The point I'm making is, there was a time they tried to export that ideology. And I'm very happy that he mentioned that it is the selection of vice-chancellor that brought about this. And they also tried to instigate some persons in our own university to tag along this vice-chancellorship thing. But he fizzled out. And so it would be interesting if they can mention the number of the names of the universities where they have branches. And why is it difficult to say the number of members you have?
Okay, you
What's the problem with that?
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. I am not here actually to join issues with my comrade here, but I must put something straight. Now, the first one is I have not sat here to mention that we have a branch in the University of Port Harcourt.
Oh, thank God.
I didn't say that here. That said, the University of Port Harcourt approached us sometimes in 2019.
When you say University of Port Harcourt, lecturers there?
Yes, lecturers there.
Or the school itself?
Lecturers there, and it's in the media. The event was covered. We had about 200 and something members that approached us. But sometimes around 2020, they went back. So we have not mentioned that here. Secondly,
so when they approached you, what happened thereafter?
No, we were together, we were doing things together, and they did say eventually by 2020 that they have been approached by ASUU and they were thinking of this reconciliation. And freedom of association, we granted them that. We can't force them. The second point I would like to respond to, as much as I said that, I'm not here to join issues with him. With respect to the membership, with profound respect, he's in no position. I'm not responsible to him to mention the number of members we have in my union. The same reason I cannot ask you and demand from you the number of members you have in your union.
Well, there's strength in numbers,
Yes, I know that.
And it was taken for granted before that all academics, were under the umbrella of ASUU, so there was no need to ask.
Again, honestly speaking,
yes.
Because there are a number of things that you can't say on the air. Before our registration, we knew a lot of intimidation, harassment, and what have you. Our sister union, they never wanted to touch us with a spoon. We know that, and he knows it.
So you said that you disagree on the methods of ASUU in pushing home demands, particularly the use of strike action. What other means are you suggesting that you use to push home demands with a government that looks like, it's hard of hearing?
Yeah, thank you very much. For a start, I'm going to respond this way, and as we go on, this method will be refined as we move forward. I give this example always, and that example is to the effect that even in situations, history has taught us, in situations where we have wars, they actually eventually settled on the table. So we believe the use of negotiation, constructive engagement has not been seriously explored. We are of the opinion, strongly so, that meetings held, negotiations held, are done under conditions of fixed mind, under conditions that you are in a meeting with your enemy, animosity environment. We are looking forward to a situation in which you come to a meeting with a free mind, not a fixed one, that we are all stakeholders, equal ones at that. Students, lecturers, the government, there is no less a stakeholder. And that with the mind that we want progress for our institutions, because that is progress. Their progress is the progress of the nation.
If some members of ASUU in OAU had not taken the position they took with respect to supporting a certain vice-chancellorship position, CONUA may not have been formed.
Now, I must also, that escaped my mind, thank you, sir. I must also respond to that. That was a tip of an iceberg. You know, I did say that the issues can be broadly categorized into two. Constitutional violations. I hope it won't be a shock to know that part of the violations in the Constitution, which the other union did, was to replace, against the Constitution and against the mandate of banks, to replace a serving treasurer who is a grade A signatory with a financial secretary who had issues with him, who we had issues, who in their own report found culpable.
Well, Dr. Somani, from what we heard of you, correct us if we're wrong, this, so far, from what we heard, is just about the internal wranglings of your members, not necessarily about the well-being of academics or institution. It's about people within your union and ASUU. That's why this was formed.
That will not be correct. That is incorrect.
What is the correct position?
I've just told you that. We had issues.
Yeah, treasurer. Those are not issues that benefit the students. How do they benefit the students?
No, those issues led to pronouncement of expulsion.
Yeah, of your members. How does that benefit the students?
So it will benefit the student. I give an example that crosses my mind. The example is in OAU.
Okay.
The issue started 2016.
All right. Well, we'll let you both respond to this, and our colleagues in Lagos will also take it from there when we return in just a moment. Don't go away.
We came here for one reason and one reason only, to, after a series of engagements with ASUU and with people on the executive side, we've been able to come to some kind of decision on our part and recommendations to be made to Mr. President for his approval. And that's why we're here, because as you know, what's on the front burner today, even beyond the politics, is our universities, our lecturers, and our children who are out of school. And the House of Representatives decided to step in at that point 4 weeks ago. We've had a series of meetings that lasted hours. And Mr. President, as usual, had a very good listening ear, and he took the report of the House. He accepted it. We discussed it at length, the details of the report, and he wanted to go through them himself. And he will get back to us. We have another meeting on Thursday between our good selves and Mr. President for his final decision. We're absolutely very hopeful. We had a good engagement. Very positive response. He asked us a couple of questions in some gray areas, which we clarified, and he accepted the report, and he wanted a couple of days to go through it.
Welcome back, Dr. Nii Simonu and Dr. Austin Sado. Dr. Simonu is for CONUA. I have to get used to that. And Dr. Sado is of ASUU. They're still with us in our Abuja studio. And I'd like Dr. Simonu to land on that point you were making just before we went and break. A couple of issues to touch on, really big ones, but please land on that.
Thank you very much for that. What I was saying with respect to welfare of our members, when you expelled a group of people, they had no, you have left them in the limbo. They have nowhere to hide. They have nowhere to, nobody to run to in case there are issues that pertains to them. And it's the reason for why CONUA was formed. I was about giving an example in Ife. This issue started in 2016. And with respect to students, up till the COVID breakdown, COVID holiday in 2020, our university in Ife was running uninterrupted academic calendar. I make bold to say that. So for our welfare, a union has to be formed, and that will extend to protection of students with respect to the belief, working out on our belief, on our modus operandi, which is not to use strike as an instrument to press home demands.
Are you a member of the APC? Did you get that, Dr. Simonu?
No, I didn't get you.
Are you a member of the APC?
I am not a member of any political party. I make bold to say that.
So what is your relationship with either the APC, the current government, as you are right now? A preponderance of your tweets, for example, and retweets and supports, or at least of those who support this government who are officials and all of that. So what is your relationship with the government? Get that out of the way, please.
I have no special relationship with the government or the day, except with regards to the moment we filed application, that is CONUA filed application in April 2018 for the registration of CONUA as a trade union. So our relationship is purely official with regards to registration.
Right. It's important to get that out of the way. So speaking of the work you're doing, you said that you have been working, you've been lecturing even during the strike or even before the strike. So you're saying that you've been doing your work as a union even before being recognized and being registered as a union. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's the import of my statement.
Just registered and recognized yesterday by the Minister of Labor, the ministry, the federal government. But apparently you'd been operating as a union way before that. How so?
Yeah, we've been operating under the provision of the Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. And which grants right to every Nigerian to freely associate. And before you can apply to register as a union, you need to organize yourself. So we've been using that, we've been operating under Section 40, under its protection, while we apply for registration and, excuse me, awaited the approval of the registration, which came yesterday.
The no work, no pay rule has not been applying to you.
I wouldn't know what the government applied to us. Our salaries have not been paid. Even though we've been working, I can only take a guess that the government, since it has not granted us our legal recognition, felt everybody is under the banner of the other union. And since that clarification, dissociation was made yesterday, we are now at liberty to press home our right for the payment of our withheld salaries. And that we shall do.
So your own case has been work but no pay, rather than the no work, no pay that the government has been applying to ASUU.
Thank you very much. I will take that definition.
I see. Okay, now let's talk about the issues. You didn't give, by the way, you didn't give a figure to your numerical strength. And I think it's important, except there's some sort of trade union espionage going on, such that you have double agents. Some people within ASUU that belong to CONUA, and perhaps vice versa. But to the issues now. So there's this funny issue of UTAS IPs. To be clear, are you for UTAS? Are you for IPs? Are you okay with the IPs system, or you think that UTAS, as ASUU wants, is the right way to go? Quickly on that one.
Thank you very much. At the right time, our numerical strength will be given, but it's not the issue now. With respect to payment software, the way I will respond to it is there is no software without payments or any other software that is foolproof, that is perfect. So get a good software in the hands of a bad guy. It will mess it up. Get a bad software in the hand of a good guy. That guy will work to improve the software. There are some disciplines that work with softwares that get feedback. The originators of the softwares will have to wait for feedback and improve on the software. So for example, you have Microsoft in 1998. Is this the same Microsoft we use today? So as far as we're concerned, for now, what is of utmost concern to us is that this wage that we take is poor, should be improved upon. And once we get right pay, how that payment is made will be of less importance.
We'll get to the issue of software for payment, but there's some other issues that I just want to get out of the way. There have been more than a dozen strikes in Nigerian universities since 1999, and for much of that time, CONUA was not in existence, so CONUA was part of ASUU. So the use of strikes, the use of such agitation to press home your demands was subscribed to by ASUU holistically, with your members being part of ASUU before the formation of CONUA. Am I correct?
That would not be absolutely correct. I would like you to remember that there are discussions before conclusions are arrived at or decisions are taken. So you may not have a situation where you have majority having their way, minority having their say. I can say categorically there have been colleagues in the universities, the Nigerian universities, that are against the use of strike. There are so many colleagues, but one could say comfortably that maybe it's a situation of majority having their way and minority having their say.
Prior to 2016, when CONUA was formed, whether or not the ASUU as a whole subscribed to strike, ASUU as a whole went on strike. Dr. Sumonu, did you get that? Dr. Sumonu?
It will be the focus, it will be the statement of the union. But it doesn't mean there are no members within the union that are dissatisfied, that are not happy with the use of strike as a means of pressing home demands. It doesn't mean that.
Okay, so if you do not subscribe to the use of strikes to press home your demands, what's your own approach? What approach would you rather have used?
I think I responded to that to that question here in the studio in Abuja, but for the sake of record, I will say that again. I said in situations, even in situations of outright wars, history has told us those are eventually settled on a table. So we're of the opinion that we should do more of engagement, which should be constructive, and we believe it's going to give us results.
So I asked that question because I wanted to take you back to some of your comments on, the approach ASUU has deployed. I recall you expressed reservations about the environment of animosity in which ASUU has been negotiating with the federal government. Are you holding ASUU responsible for that environment? Are you weighing the entire negotiating process on its merit?
I'm actually not accusing the other union of that, I need to make that clarification and declaration. All I'm saying is, from our evaluation, engagement operates in an animosity environment. Otherwise, I see no reason why government will put pen to paper on something and renege the next day, or renege when another government comes in, saying, oh, they can't follow through the agreement again. And if you follow the trend of, excuse me, the trend of this current negotiation, in fact, the last meeting, where with respect to the last meeting the Honorable Speaker of the House called, it was more of shouting match among those who attended the meeting. Such an environment is not going to be considered an engaging, a positively engaging one. So it's our view of how things are going, the one even the media covered, not to talk of the ones that are operating in closed doors.
Sumono, the speaker has met with Mr. President, and he came out with, positive outcomes from that meeting, saying the president has promised to look at what they have presented. Now, if the president approves the white paper on, earned academic allowances and revitalization fund, would you feel in good conscience justified to profit from that process, knowing that you do not subscribe to ASUU struggle and have not been part of the agitation to get that for Nigerian universities?
A very good question. That question came sometimes ago in 2020. And the way I'm going to respond to it is, first and foremost, with profound respect, the end academic allowance and some other things are actually meant for academics. It's not a strike allowance. With profound respect, I need to say that. Secondly, the fact that a group of people under the aegis of CONUA now do not believe in strike doesn't mean that they are not contributing in one way or the other. For example, when our colleagues go on strike and we feel strike is not the best way to do that, and we teach our students, we do other duties. I mean, you can't in all conscience say we can't be part of whatever comes out or whatever government feels it needs to do to the university. No. There are different ways of approaching issues.
I see Dr. Sado smiling there. For you, Dr. Sado, is that a case of, not going to the farm with you to plant and to till the ground and harvest, but then you wait at home to enjoy the harvest? Is that the case for you? Will that be, acceptable for ASUU?
I think it's unfortunate that some individuals who yield themselves to be disruptive of the system and claim to be supporting that system. I watched yesterday, even the clip on television this morning, your report this morning, the minister was actually speaking for CONUA and saying that whenever there is going to be a negotiation with ASUU, this union should be invited. Whenever they paid EAA, this union should receive from it. He was actually making a case for them. And the case being advanced here is a bit different from that point. So, I just need to say that as we are sitting here now, all of us, including interviewers, every one of us, we are making history. And tomorrow, whatever we have said today will stand in the record of history to show what we have done to contribute to the development of this nation. And I will wish that any person who objects to an action will not take part in the benefit coming from those actions. But individuals have different moral inclination. And it is not my responsibility to question an individual's moral inclination. I would rather feel that as a moral agent, people should be responsible for the actions they have taken and whatever they have, whatever information they've given out. I leave it to Nigerians to determine whether it is right or wrong. I do not have the position to make on that.
We've seen in times past when the strikes are issued, members of unions go around, sort of victimize those who don't seem to be complying with the order from, the national body of the union. So just quickly, two things. First, will there be any sort of victimization identifying? Because it seemed like Dr. Simono didn't even want to mention their numerical strength and perhaps other places that they have members, perhaps for the fear of victimization. So can you assure us that these members or these people who have a right to freedom of association, as the Constitution prescribes, will not be victimized by ASUU in whatever way? And he talked about the hostile environment within the negotiations. I know it's a double-edged sword, but if you could just respond to that for my colleagues in Abuja, take on.
Well, I don't know, with respect to the toxic nature or so of a negotiation, I don't know where he has been, if he has been part of the negotiation. To the best of my knowledge, the meeting he referred to, which was held at the conference room of the Honorable Minister, there, I think he was just speaking to a particular incident that he saw on television. And I don't think that the Honorable Speaker will agree with him that it was a rancorous environment. We should just be very careful how we try to make cheap points. So with respect to the issue of victimization, if you are a member of the union, you are guided by rules, by the Constitution of the union. So there is nothing like victimization in ASUU. ASUU has never victimized anybody. As a matter of fact, we actually protect and ensure that after any strike, there will be no victimization, either on the part of the government or on the part of ASUU. And nobody is going to be victimized. But if there are people who have circumvented the rules or the operations of the organization, they will be processed through the constitutional mechanism, and whatever issues will come from that will depend on how the Constitution deals with it, to which every member of the union has subscribed.
Well, two questions. The first has to do with how you handle dissent within your unions, because that's the reason CONUA has come up. And if the minister's words as to anything to go by, he says, and many more will be registered, it will mean that there are also members who perhaps do not particularly agree with the manner in which maybe some decisions are taken. Yes, minority, it's a democracy, and majority will always have their way, but what will be done to make sure that minorities within the union are also pacified, if, that's the word I can find right now, and also perhaps carried along even with the decision of the majority?
ASUU is a very democratic institution. The principal officers of the union actually do not determine how the union is controlled. For any strike, it has to come from the branches. So I do not imagine that people will ask the principal officers, represent us with government, and go back. So some of the pictures being painted are not realities. And when the minister says many more will come, I'm sure that Nigerians, reasonable people, are wondering what is actually what is the scheming for. I can imagine tomorrow you now have Association of Media Teachers of Universities. Then the other one is Association of Chemical Pathologists. It's chaotic. It's chaotic. And if you do not think that there should be some form of organization because you want to exploit the weakness to achieve a point that is destructive, what the Minister of Labor is doing to unionism in Nigeria is pyrrhic. Whatever victory that is achieved now is a very disastrous victory because it portends danger to the system, not just to academics. When you emasculate unions for maybe parochial reason, instead of dealing with the issue, you don't solve the problem.
This is an attempt to emasculate ASUU.
That's what it is. I mean, I do not imagine how the Minister of Labor and Employment would be grinning on television, happy, and saying, oh, many will come, many will come. How dramatic. Is he a member of the union?
That's one. Then the second is victimization. You spoke of victimization, and ASUU does not encourage victimization.
We do not.
And that's within your union or on the part of government. Will that include the non-payment of salaries? Because we understand that initially, you know, it would seem that at the 7th month, this strike was about to be over until that issue of no work, no pay reared its head. Is that part of the issues of victimization which you were talking about?
Let me just address this issue of no work, no pay and these issues being resolved. Again, I want to say that Nigerians should actually ask the minister where he got his information from. At that time, payment of backlog of salary had never been part of our discussion because it was not part of the reason we went on strike. And at the time, we were almost concluding. In fact, as we arrived at a conclusion with the Nimi Breeze Committee. At that time, payment of salary was not an issue.
Because it was taken for granted.
Well, it's taken for granted. So where the minister got the issue that that was the only thing remaining, it beats my imagination. So it was a non-issue. And I don't think that anybody...
It was. Is it now an issue?
Of course, it definitely will be an issue. They have made it an issue. But now they are even trying to, I mean, if you look at the press reports, the government breaks ASUU ranks and things like that. They should reopen universities, go and teach with the 1 or 2 or 3 people that are claiming to have another union, and they pay them.
I want to ask about, you know, the resolution reached with the speaker, because we also saw the visit of the speaker to the president, and he is quite optimistic that this will soon be over. Are you privy to some of the recommendations or the conversations reached?
You know, I'll be very respectful of that engagement. The speaker did not disclose the recommendations they took out. I was at that meeting, and I know that we're quite hopeful, and that if they follow through this, we should be seeing an end to this strike. But this is not the first time we're getting to a point like this. So we believe that from us, we know that as far as we're concerned, this strike technically ended in June when we had that agreement with the Nimi Breeze Committee. Every other thing that has happened since June has been as a result of lack of will from government. But with the intervention of the speaker, we're hopeful that things will change. And that change is not just because for lack of maybe the will, but I think there's been misinformation by some individuals who are trying to make sure that the process is not, the strike is not resolved.
Well, in the end, you know, the bottom line is the students. Students have got to go back to school, because at the end of the day, even if more unions come and then they go back to school and teach, and then ASUU don't go back to school and teach, how does that address the problem? Can students graduate in that light? I'm not sure that that's what everybody wants. So, as you say, we will look forward and hope that when that next meeting happens between the speaker will be meeting with the president afterwards, we're actually hoping that this time that there will be a solution. Well, gentlemen, we have to thank you both for coming on. Dr. Niyi Sumonu, National Coordinator, Congress of University Academics, CONUA, and then Dr. Austin Sado, the National Investment Secretary for the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. Thank you both for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
We're back in a moment. Don't go away.